Welcome to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, events, and issues surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I am Stephen Conway. With me, of course, is Jeremy Finestone. We'll have a special guest on later. We're going to get to him very briefly. But Jeremy, it's Fantasticamania week. A lot of shows, a lot of matches, and a lot of interesting stuff. What are your thoughts going into this one after watching a lot of new faces and new styles?
I'm glad it's only 1 week out of the year. I liked it, but it was a lot all at once. And I'm not necessarily sure I had 12 hours to dedicate to active, live, in-ring Lucha Libre action this week, but I made time for it. I'm just glad I don't have to do it every week. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I always love this stuff. I'm a big CMLL fan. And when you see these guys come over to Japan, it's a bit of a break in the schedule. It's not particularly canon, is it? I mean, not a whole lot of things happen this week that is going to affect New Japan going forward. It was a bit of an exhibition week, sort of, where people teamed up with people they wouldn't normally see and do things they wouldn't normally do and all that. And we're going to get to that. I enjoy the hell out of it, though. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm a big Lucha fan. I'm a big CMLL fan. So seeing these guys come over here, and of course, a lot of people in New Japan were on excursion in CMLL, have had significant time in a lot of cases in CMLL. So it's a nice mix, that strong style and then the more tumbling Lucha thing. So it was enjoyable to see. It's not the type of wrestling that you would show anyone to say, here's the best that CMLL looks, or here's the best New Japan looks. You know, it's
But
kind of
still something for everybody.
There was, yeah. There was, but it was enjoyable. I like the shows for the most part. There were some patterns that emerged that we'll get into, and we got to see some fun stuff.
The best thing I would say is like a festival. You had like 6 shows, right? 5 or 6 shows, and interspersed through all the shows was different events and things. You had the incredible Relivos, the tag team mixed match, like straight belt champion. Didn't take up the whole tournament. It was in a couple of shows in the middle of it. And then you had a couple of title matches and a couple of singles matches built out of feuds. They were really just trying to give you an entire like cornucopia of flavors and treats that really represented the Lucha Libre spirit.
So we're going to talk about Fantasticamania. We're going to get into bracketology for the New Japan Cup coming up. We are going to attempt to talk about Hiromu Takahashi's junior heavyweight show, his little festival of its own, which has approximately everybody on Earth. I think I'm on this card, Jeremy. I think I'm in an 8-man tag.
I think Justin Nipper's on the show, too.
Oh, yeah, man. And just for all of you at home, wish me luck in trying to pronounce these people's names. I'm going to do the best I can with some of these guys.
He drew the short straw and has to do it today.
Here we go. We're going to give it a shot. We're also going to talk a little bit more about some of the other events coming up. There's the anniversary show, but a lot of the stuff about the New Japan Cup. And since it is such a big deal, this New Japan Cup, we have a special guest that's going to help us along. Tell us about that, Jeremy.
Well, we have Scott Edwards, also known as Scott E. Wrestling on Twitter. He is the resident Joshi expert for Fight Game Media, Fightful, Voice of Wrestling talks to him. Everybody talks to him. I don't even think I'm doing him enough credit with this introduction. So I'm going to just bring him on now, and he can tell everyone all the stuff that he is able to tell us about. Hi, Scott.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Not the greatest intro, but you do so much that I honestly had a moment of, I don't know how to introduce this guy other than he's the man who does everything when it comes to wrestling in Japan.
For the people watching live at home, you see this little name tag here? I just wrote too much initially. Like that was how I explained all the stuff that I do. It's a lot. You probably introduced me the best way you possibly could, because I don't even know where I write anymore half the time. I just know Fightful because, that's daily, and I know 5-Star Joshi Show because that's been the longest. But thank you for the introduction.
You are the internet version of Brian Cage because you are not a man, you are a machine.
I was gonna say it could be a good thing or bad thing.
I had to give context, and I made sure I did before we got too far into that one.
I was wondering where that was going to go.
I was like, Brian Cage. Oh man,
Brian Cage.
I'm not a big
fan. More machine than man when it comes to the content that you provide for people who love the art and sport of pro wrestling.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm working hard. That's about all I could say.
Yes, you are.
I always just recommend please listen to my shows, especially the 5-Star Joe show right here on the Fight Game Media Network.
There you have it.
I got
Very
that
good.
trained. I'm trained with that. But
Also-
I'm very excited to talk about New Japan with you all today.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. And also, this is going to be a podcast later on tonight. I'm going to drop this probably early tomorrow morning, available wherever you get your podcasts. I'm still, mostly Spotify, in particular, iHeart, and on Amazon Podcast. Still working with the Apple Podcast. We've got a ticket in. There's a ticket, so we're working on all that. So so we had Fantasticamania, and the theme of Fantasticamania this year was Revelos Increíbles, which are mismatched teams. This is something that they do in Mexico every once in a while, where they'll take Rudos and Technicos, the Technicos being baby faces in Mexico, Rudos being the heels, and force them to team up and pair together. And they do a tag team tournament like that, and they just did. In Mexico, they had a lot of matches. About each show had at least one match that was had a mismatched team, and then they had a 2-night tournament between what is supposed to be Revelos and Increíbles teams. And we're going to get to that, because despite all of these mismatched tag teams, of the 4 teams in that match, only one of them was mismatched. Well, we'll get to all that. But what we got was a mix of top talent. So some of the main eventers they had, Mistico, who's a legend. Ultimo Guerrero, certainly a legend in Japan. Atlantis Jr., Volador Jr., Soberano Jr., so a lot of juniors. Templario, Hechisario, Barbaro Cavernario. They also brought in some younger guys like Rey Cometa, Captain Suicida, Magia Blanca, and those guys are young guys getting experience on the international stage. What was interesting about this is the last time they did this, of course, the pandemic wiped out a couple of years of Fantasticamania. Last time they did this, it was Atlantis Jr. that was basically a young boy that was doing those early in the card matches where you do 1 or 2 moves and then it goes to a finish, right? It's 5-6 minutes and you're done. This year, he's one of the main eventers. And so it's been satisfying to see him. We also got to see Okamura again. This is a man who trained in Japan, went on excursion, and never came back. He liked it in Mexico so much, he basically stayed there and has worked his whole career. We also saw his wife, Mima Shimoda, and Scott, you can tell she was an All Japan Women's star for quite a while, and Mima got her bumps in. He's Fantasticamania. She always manages to get a couple of bumps in. We saw that. So a wide variety. So main eventers, some young guys, some returnees and things, and of course they used a lot of the guys from New Japan who have Lucha Libre experience. Obviously Douki, El Desperado, Hiromu Takahashi, Master Wato, who was a Mr. Kawato, and in Okamura's stable as a heel in CMLL for a while, and a lot of those guys from New Japan that have that CMLL experience. So, Scott, we talked a little bit before you came on. What were your thoughts as this Fantasticamania tour went on?
I had an absolute blast. I started to get into CMLL towards the end of last year. I watched the anniversary event last year, and that really turned me on to the product. And I've been trying to just watch as much as I could. CMLL is not the easiest promotion to watch. So with Fantasticamania coming up, it's like, yes, I get to watch shows when they actually happen. That's great. That's the part that's always so difficult to me. But I knew a couple of these guys going in, but like Soberano Jr., this guy, like I thought he was maybe the star of the entire tour. If it wasn't him, it was Mistico probably. But that's Mistico. Like what else was I supposed to expect from him? He's just an incredible talent. I thought it was just a lot of good nights of lucha, and There's the match there. See, that was the match I was most anticipating, and I actually liked a few more better. So that was shocking.
I agree with you. Yeah,
and I don't think that's a shot at them. I think everyone was just had their working boots on this whole tour, which was really cool. There was some great action, and I hope a lot of people want to see a CMLL after this, because I know I do.
I definitely enjoyed that sprint between Soberano and Teton on the second to last night.
Yeah,
that was a very good match.
That was probably my favorite of the tour.
And for those of you, if you want to just see some CMLL, they do have a YouTube page. Not everything goes up immediately, like he said. It's not always the easiest thing. A lot of their big show is Friday. It's Super Viernes, Super Friday at Arena Mexico, and it's a very different culture. It's a very different style, and it's wildly successful. CMLL is right now that they're in a bit of a hot period, and they're getting 10 to 12,000 people every Friday night in Arena Mexico for these shows. A lot of them are tourists that come through. They're smart enough to run free tourist buses from the major hotels to the arena and back, sort of saying that this is a Mexican cultural thing, and it is. So see a bit of Mexican culture. So a lot of the people that are there aren't wrestling fans, so to speak. They're there to see the show, and they kind of work that style where it's a lot of big moves, big dives, very exciting stuff. It's different, but it's a lot of fun to watch. So if you get a chance to do it, I know there's a lot of wrestling, but I certainly recommend it as well. So we also got some mini feuds here. They worked in some subplots. So Hijo del Villano Tercera, which is the son of Villano 3, Villano number 3 being one of the all-time greats, Rudos in Mexican wrestling right there. I mean, really a fantastic worker. His son feuded with Tiger Mask a little bit, got his mask a couple of times, yanked it right off, and one time the camera was in the wrong spot. We got a real good look. We got a real good look at what the real Tiger Mask looks like, probably more than they had anticipated. But that ended up being a thing where they had a singles match on the last night. We saw Dolce Gardenia and Okamura have their thing, and they got into it. A more
you had
toned
moments
down
that you were never going to see otherwise, like
right, yeah,
the Rey Komeda, like Tanahashi dressed as Cavernario, and the Komeda 4 right here.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. They did every effort to make sure that at least one night, each one of the contracted talents of CMLL got some type of shine. So, like, he was the star of this show. Dolce Gardenia had the singles match on the very last night after being a bit of a comedy act through the rest of the show. So, it was a very well thought out tour in which, I think the goals were the hit that they wanted to hit, but it was a lot of lucha libre. And if you're not in love with it, you could get burnt out after 3, 4, 5 nights of it. Perhaps maybe I'm suggesting that it was a bit too much for me personally. Okay. But I made it through, and I will look forward to it when we do it next year.
And some of the matches that I enjoyed off of this, and like I said, there were too many shows, and a lot of this we mentioned isn't particularly canon, so we're not going to just break down the cards. There's too many of them, for one. But Takamatsu was the first night at the General Gymnasium there. 768 people came out. That seemed to be like the warm-up show there. There wasn't anything wrong with that, but there weren't any matches I thought that really stood out. KBS Hall in Kyoto, 765 showed up to a very cool-looking building there, by the way. That's a cool-looking room. Big, what looks like a stained glass window is one wall. But that one had Volador and Mistico against Templario and Atlantis Jr., and I really enjoyed that match. That seemed to be when everybody kind of shook off their jet lag and really had fun in the ring. And were there any from the first couple nights, Scott, or anything stand out to you guys before we go to Osaka?
That one that you just said, the tag with that was the match where I was like, okay, now this tour is getting going. That first night was I think jet lag definitely had something to do with it, but
that was not the best night of the tour. We can be honest and say there were some pick me ups that were not picking people up.
Exactly. So I loved that tag match. I thought everyone got to shine. It was still the Mistico show in a lot of ways, which again, I continue to say kind of was the whole tournament. Any match he had, like just seeing his connection with the fans is always exciting to me. And as someone that's got into CMLL this year, he is like the biggest baby face in that promotion, but also it's just worldwide, right? He goes to Japan, it's the same thing. And one of my favorite things from the entire tournament was just like he got like dropped on his head one time, and like within the next like 10 seconds he was like trying to get the crowd into it, like, all right, cheer me up, get me going. And it worked, and I loved every second of it. And I love Atlantis Jr. I thought he had a weaker tour than I hoped for, in terms of I wanted him to have the type of tour like Soberano Jr. had, in terms of like this guy's a standout because I know Atlantis Jr. is that guy. But no complaints really after that second night.
I think also Hechicero had a very strong tour, and the thing about Volador,
I love him.
Oh yeah, Hechicero's fabulous. So's Templario for that matter, but I thought Hechicero was even better.
A lot.
Volador Jr., man, I can't help but think, as good looking as he is, and he's ridiculously good looking, like painfully good looking, and just like that. But I almost think he would work better in a mask, because one thing about he is so effortless in the ring that sometimes it looks like he's not trying, and sometimes his facial expressions, even when he's doing things like Tahiras and Hurricane Ranas and all that stuff, sometimes he looks bored. His facial expression just doesn't look that he's all that into it, and I think it hurts him, because if he just had a hood on, and he's doing all this stuff, I think it would be like, holy crap, this guy's a ridiculously good athlete. Now, his stuff with Rocky Romero recently, he's feuding with Rocky back in Mexico. That's been strong. It feels like he's into that a little bit more here, but that's my only thing. Other than that, the guy's ridiculously talented. So there's a lot of good stuff there. I don't think it's an accident that a lot of our favorite matches are matches among the luchadors, because when they just worked their style, they seem to really be intent on impressing the Japanese audience. Of course, they have to mix that up a little bit when they're in with some of the New Japan strong style guys. And I think it dilutes it a little when a lot of my favorite matches were the ones where it was just the Mexican guys against the Mexican guys.
Yeah, I will say, I think one of my favorite, maybe my second favorite match from the tour after, Teton and Soberano was the trios match on, was it day 3 or 4? It was El Desperado, Soberano Jr., and Mistico versus Templario, Douki, and Hechicero. I thought that was tremendous.
That was the fourth night.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in Chiba. Yeah.
Like,
15 minutes, 30 seconds.
Yeah, like it embodied everything that I think this tour was supposed to. Of yes, you have that great Lucha Libre style, but at the same time, you can put in the New Japan guys, and they're just going to bring it up. And it helps that, of course, these two have the Lucha background, of course. But that was one of my favorites, because I just think it was everything I was looking for in this tour.
I don't know if you know this, Scott, but this is a no Douki slander zone.
Oh, I love Douki.
I know.
We've come a long way on this show, but there shall be no slander on Douki here.
I love Douki.
We're big fans of Douki.
No, I just want to make sure that when somebody comes in here, they know that you wipe your feet at the door and you make sure that Douki is respected.
I respect that.
So we had the Osaka began the tournament there. But here's the thing about the tournament, guys. Okay, so it's supposed to be Revelos Increíbles. It was Bushi and Titan, who are teammates and both in LIJ.
Yeah.
Rey Cometa and Dolce Gardenia, both Technicos. Then you had Ultimo Guerrero and Atlantis. Aha, yes, okay. We have a Rudo, although Ultimo Guerrero is an elder statesman in that he still is a fantastic worker for his age. Any age, really. He's really wonderful, but he has been around a long time. And he is probably, it's got to be in his 50s or something like that.
50.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And so, I mean, the guy's a little older than I am, for the love of God, but he's still wonderful. And he's a Rudo that people like, even in Mexico. He's been around so long that it's a little bit like Ric Flair would try to turn heel and it would never work. Like the crowd wouldn't totally get into it. And that's kind of what it is with Guerrero. But he and Atlantis are a bit of an odd pair. And then Volador and Magia Blanca, both were Technicos. So there really weren't the only odd pairing in the odd pairing tournament was the team that ended up winning it, Ultimo Guerrero and Atlantis. But their match against Volador and Magia Blanca was really good. Guerrero has this move. It's called the Guerrero special, and it is he gets the guy on the ropes in a belly-to-back suplex position, but turns it into an overhead suplex, so the guy lands flat on his front. And there you go, Flaming Shark. See, we're all Douki fans out here. And he beat Magia Blanca with it there. In the other one, it was Bushi and Teton, which really no surprise there with Cometa and Gardenia were a little bit lower on the card than some of the others. And of course, they're trying to get over the LIJ guys. So, but Osaka was a strong show. I do think that the one in Chiba, had that trios match we mentioned, and some other stuff on there that was really good. The third place match, Gardenia and Komeda against Volador and Magia Blanca, was real strong too. So good stuff. But Guerrero and Atlantis ended up beating Titan and Bushi to win the tournament. I guess that was just being kind to the guests. I personally thought that they were going to really push Titan, since that's the guy from CMLL that's in New Japan most of the time. Jeremy, what'd you think?
That was the one with the chops. Was that match had the insane chops between Guerrero and I think was it Bushi or Titan?
There was a singles match too, where Soberano's chops are thunderous, and you think about it, it's a guy that works in a building that seats 20,000 every week, so he has learned to make those chops resonate. And in Korakuen Hall and in Chiba, it sounded like it was peeling the paint off the wall.
Yeah, I thought Ultimo Guerrero had a tag match, and it was against Bushi or Titan that he did it, and they started chopping the shit out of each other just in the middle of the ring, and they went harder and harder to the point that even like some of the people in the Discord were specifically like locking in on that as just like one of the entire spots of the weekend, and it was pretty spectacular. And even now, when I'm going back to it, like those are some pretty special chops between the two, but just as a whole, I really enjoyed the incorporation of New Japan talent. I thought LIJ being all over this tournament was probably one of the best choices that they could do. And sure. Hiroshi Tanahashi, it felt like it was a bad knee week for him. He was doing a lot more of the performing, but man, when he came out there and he was just all committed to all the gimmicks, the Cavernario gimmick and the Komeda gimmick, like I don't know if other people rolled their eyes, but I was all in on that kind of stuff because it was just it was a tacit approval by the top New Japan workers that like, yeah, it's okay to like this stuff. Like it was just buy in on it because this stuff is fantastic. This is what we're trying to tell you. And so it was, even if it was a lot for me in one like concentrated blast, I can't deny that this was a lot of fun.
Scott, any thoughts on that?
I think he did a really good job at summing it up. Truthfully, I'm excited to talk about the final two nights. Truthfully,
yeah,
because those I thought were really the highlights of the whole tour, as they were supposed to be.
I thought the Monday show at Korakuen was the best show of the tour, but I think they finished first and second. So well, let's get into that because first of all, they drew well, 1,384. You could tell that the New Japan fans were kind of into this idea here and seeing something different. The first night there at Korakuen Hall, they had, well, first of all, Captain Suicida and Ultimo Guerrero. Suicida is relatively new. He's only been in the top tier shows. There's an A circuit and a B circuit with CMLL, and he's only been in the A circuit for a few years now, and sort of getting his feet wet here. And he was really good against Ultimo Guerrero right there, who can carry anyone. But sorry, Scott, go ahead.
That match stunned me because like I'll admit this. I don't watch every match on every show. I can't do that. I watch too much to watch every match. So this was one I skipped, and then someone said, "Did you watch this?" And I said, "No, I don't know." Suicida doesn't jump out to me enough to make me. And they're like, "No, you got to go back and watch it." So I went back and watched it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm really happy someone told me to do that because I thought it was like the surprise of the tour for me. That was what
they buried it in the middle of the card. They didn't even put it at the top of the card. So right. you had it, and then you kind of had another mixed tag, and then you had the intermission, and then the way that they're building these cards, you're almost designed to think like, okay, this match isn't supposed to be that big.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's the New Japan card placement that I'm used to. So it's like, I don't need to watch that. It's not going to be anything. But I'm happy I went back because I thought that was a real standout.
It surprised me also. One of the things about this whole tour was the first couple of matches on every show were sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes only 6 or 7. And it really was just whatever younger guy from CMLL would hit a couple of dives, and then it was a finish. It would be very, very quick. Not a whole lot to these matches. Kind of thought that's what we were going to get. So, all right, Suicida's going to get the suicide dives and things. By the way, there was a spot in that match. He dives over the damn top. Jeremy knows exactly where I'm going. You guys both do. Dives over the damn top. Ultimo Guerrero just catches him. Just catches around the waist. He's upside down. Then he scoops the guy up and power bombs him on the floor. Anyone wants to doubt that Ultimo Guerrero can squat
and acts like it's nothing. Just
nothing.
What he did was not spectacular whatsoever.
And a quick aside here about Ultimo Guerrero. Again, I've been singing his praises. I've been watching this guy for I don't even know how long, 20 some years. One of the great mask versus mask matches in Mexican history is Atlantis against Ultimo Guerrero, and also Atlantis against Villano Tercera, which are the fathers of Atlantis Jr. and Hijo de Villano Tercera that we saw. Go back and find those. Those can be found on YouTube if you do your search right. And if you want to see heavy emotion and lucha libre at its most intense, go to those two matches. Those mask versus mask matches are very, very special, and you really get the best of those guys from that. In this one, we also had a very fun match, a trios match. This was LIJ, which was Naito, Hiromu, and Bushi facing Barbaro Cavernario, who I always get a kick out of. Very athletic dude, really. Ryusuke Taguchi, who I tolerate, and El Desperado, of whom I'm a big fan. And so this one was a lot of fun. You could tell that there was some goofing off in this one, but I thought it was done in a fun way. So LIJ just kept missing elbows, or they didn't miss elbows. They kept hitting each other with the elbows. Poor Naito was getting elbowed by his own teammates. Then they're all laying there perfectly in line, which it only happens in wrestling, but hey, it's wrestling. We love it. And then the Cavernario, Taguchi, and Desperado just kept jumping on top of them and getting 2 counts until they figured, well, this isn't working. We'll throw the referee on him too. So Desperado grabbed Marty Asami and tossed him on. And then they piled on, got the 3 count, which Marty immediately waved off. And LIJ kind of made a comeback there. But I don't know if I'm doing that particular justice. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was fun. And then after they did a little bit of the frivolity, it turned into a real nice lucha match among 6 guys who know how to work it.
I am amused by the frenemies relationship between Hiromu and Taguchi. Whenever they're like in the ring together, they have a certain relationship with each other that Hiromu doesn't take him totally seriously, and Taguchi doesn't take himself totally seriously. So there's the comedy aspect. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work with anybody else. It just works with those two because there's like a Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote aspect. But I don't know which one is the Roadrunner, and I don't know which one is Wile E. Coyote. But I'm with you on the Taguchi, like the limited patience with it, because there were a lot of matches where he was more of a distraction during this tour than he was like adding to it. And he was just trying to find his role because he's changed of pace and not every gimmick joke is going to hit, but at least in this match and on this night, the shenanigans hit for me.
Fair enough. Another one I enjoyed, Hechicero, Atlantis Jr., and Okamura facing Mistico, Dolce Gardenia, and Magia Blanca on this show. That was a fun lucha match. Like, this one really hit for me. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And there was some really good stuff in that. We got a toned down version of Gardenia, who does an Exotico gimmick. And that gimmick is tricky. And it is the Exotico thing. It's a trope in Mexican wrestling. It is a flamboyant type of character. And I mean, it's a flamboyant gay character. And that's the whole idea about this. And the last tour, Gardenia was much more a little flamboyant. And the whole tour centered around him trying to kiss Shingo Takagi. And finally, and Korakuen Hall finally did, which had, has all kinds of interesting subtext to it. But the whole thing with that, and then this time he still did some of it, like the little screeches when he would take a bump instead of a normal
dial down.
Yeah, and a little bit like he would do the arm twist, and when the guy would sell the arm twist, he would start dancing like they're doing the samba together or something like that. But there was less of that. But it showed one other thing is that this guy's really talented athlete. I mean, some of his dives were terrific. He had some beautiful moonsaults. He had all kinds of ways to climb the ropes, do all these twists, and get the guy into an arm drag and things. So it was kind of nice to see him work instead of just do shtick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the comedic wrestler effect. Sometimes I think you'll forget the wrestler behind it. Like, I don't mean to use AEW as a reference, but Orange Cassidy, for example, like that's his whole thing, right? People forget that he's actually a good wrestler because he got over not being a good wrestler. He got over doing the shtick. And, you know, when he broke out against Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door last year, people were like, oh, man, who the hell's Orange Cassidy? And it's like, yeah, see, this is what they do. It's just like, if a gimmick gets over for you, guess what? You're going to do that because that's going to make you money, not the, oh, I can be pretty good in ring. And then when you pull out that in ring, it's like, oh, damn, there's a second side to you that I don't know about. So I think that's kind of the same type of situation here.
I think I get frustrated with Taguchi because in years past, it might be well, it might be an age thing. It might be an age thing now with Taguchi because there used to be two Taguchis. He always did a little bit of comedy, but then there were those matches with Taguchi where he would just sort of kick it in, and you could see that, okay, this is going to be a serious Taguchi match now.
Yeah,
that would happen, and the crowd would go with it. You would see the New Japan crowd, you know, start to think, oh, this is going to be frivolous. And then he would start doing a couple of moves and it would pick up the pace and then pick up intensity. And the crowd would just say, oh, okay, we're just doing a really good match instead of comedy here. And now we don't get that anymore. I don't know if it's because he can't do it or he just chooses not to, but
I think he did the role now.
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess it's like with Yano, because I remember him from being one of the MVPs, the most violent players and things. So when I see him only doing the goofy stuff, I get frustrated, I guess. So.
I can't watch Yano anymore. I'm so done with I'm done with the comedic gimmick. I'm done with it all.
Yeah, I miss the violent Yano. I don't want him doing the unprotected chair shots to the head on people like he used to.
No.
I'm not asking for that, but I wouldn't mind it if he got a little
wrestled.
Pissed. Yeah, because he can. That's the thing. Yeah. Okay, now let's get into this next one because CMLL World Welterweight title match. It was Teton defending against Soberano Jr. That was the last match of the night. I really thought this one was terrific. Teton tried to move, bless his heart, tried the double stomp from the top rope to the floor, which is a long way down on a good day, and he missed it and sold the knee, and Soberano went to work on it. Teton's comeback later began with a satellite DDT. He sold the knee very well, even when doing moves with like the double stomp off the ropes. He sold the knee. Pay attention, everybody. Folks, no. I'm talking to the workers in the United States. There's an excellent worker named Seth Rollins who always forgets that he's selling late in the goddamn match. Seth Rollins will sell a knee for 15 minutes and then hit six big moves that involve the knee in a row and never sell it. Right. And then 2 minutes later, we'll like grab it half-assed and oh yeah, wait, I'm supposed to be. This is how you actually do that. Sell the thing after each move. So just pay attention, everybody. Just notice that there is a way to actually work on a move and sell it. He ended up getting a submission for the title retention, but a fun match there. And of course, Teton, a New Japan guy that's also in CMLL, gets a big win in front of the Korakuen Hall crowd. So this accomplished a lot, I thought.
I definitely thought this was the best singles match, maybe the best all-around match on the entire card. That's how I came out, and I don't think there was anything on the last night. I felt like they were all just kind of wrapping things up on the last night and didn't quite hit the peaks on this one. But man, they came to show off on that match. It felt like.
Yeah. For me, I think Soberano Jr. had the two best singles matches of the tournament. With this one being my favorite of the entire tournament. Singles, tag doesn't matter. You bring up that double foot stomp and how he worked that into the match. I think it made the match that much better in a lot of ways. And I was almost really upset to see Teton win because I was like, Soberano Jr. has won me over this entire tournament. I want to see this guy win now. But yeah, these two had an excellent match. And I just want to say, like, not everyone can jump off of things and not hurt their leg. I watched someone jump off a cage last year with a double foot stomp and they were fine. So I just want to say that. Yeah, great match here.
So the next night, the final night of the tour, that was actually this morning, very early, Tiger Mask and finally got his one-on-one match with Hijo del Villano Tercera and beat him, saved his mask. Nobody's mask got ripped off. And in fact, they made up afterwards. It was a night of making up with everybody. It was Rey Kometa teamed up with Tanahashi, Oiwa, and Kojima. That was where we had everybody's faces painted like Rey Kometa that looked really good. We had the singles match between Dolce Gardenia and Okamura. This is where Mima Shimoda got to do her bumping. She got a few bumps in. every tour. She takes a few there, and it was with Dolce. So they had a thing where they kept kind of clashing after matches. So they had a singles match. So there were all these little mini subplots going on throughout the tour. And then I thought the best match of the night, guys, was Master Wato, Barbaro Cavernario, and Ultimo Guerrero against Volador, Desperado, and Templario. I thought the Wato was no, pardon me. The next match was better than this one. I thought this was really good. Pardon me. I'm looking at my notes. I had it in there wrong. I thought Wato was really good in this match. You could tell he was really having fun doing some of this Lucha Libre stuff again. And Volador had about as nice looking a destroyer as you're ever going to see on Cavernario for the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree with all of that. I think,
I think when it comes to Wato, and I like to have this conversation anytime I get to talk about New Japan, is that I think he's actually very solid now, and I think he's going to show and shut up a lot of people tomorrow at the Junior Festival when he fights Atsuki Aoyagi, who's, by the way, a fantastic junior wrestler if you've never seen him.
Yes, he is.
And yeah, I think I'm still upset Wato didn't win at Wrestle Kingdom. Like, I'm still really upset.
I get it, but we were talking about the show. He lucked into that spot when Kushida.
Oh, he sure did.
And he made the best out of that situation. He had his opportunity, and he delivered at every point in that feud, even in like their mixed tag match. Remember when they had the four-way, the tag team where they had the straight bedfellow match? Like everything, he came to play, and it was just one of those. There's so much in his future that wasn't there before that feud. Like that feud kind of made him for the foreseeable future. So I'm not worried that he didn't win that at Wrestle Kingdom, because I think that he is on the blueprint master plan now for the next year and a half.
Admittedly, I also am happy he didn't win, because I got Hiromu versus Yo, which is one of my favorites of the year so far, because I always thought Yo had it in him, and then he finally showed it, and I was like, yes, he has it.
It plays into my long-term plan that Leo Rush is going to join United Empire.
Well, we talked about Wato saying that this is the biggest match of his career, and he wins by just hanging with those three guys who are all made men, and so and he did that. And then we were talking about how Yo was under a lot of pressure facing Hiromu, because if Yo doesn't have a good match with Hiromu, who doesn't have a good match with Hiromu? But you know what I mean? If he's a disappointment in that match, Wato just takes his damn spot. It's gone. So he had to show up just to remind Geto, is just like, I'm here too, on the Hantai Chaos side. Don't forget about me. So everyone's turning up on that one, thankfully. But it means we're going to have a lot more interesting combinations and matches between talented junior heavies. And right now that's a talent-rich division in New Japan.
The entirety of New Japan right now is talent-rich. Like, you can look at that New Japan Cup brackets, and there seems to be a couple of places where it's like, I don't know, it seems like it pretty much who's going to win. But man, coming upwards, it's been better than ever with the amount of talent. Even though like top talent's leaving, they have plans for younger talent to fill those roles.
And we're going to get to that with the Cup just around the corner. The last match, though, I want to recommend anyone that if they're watching Fantasticamania and picking and choosing, and I understand, again, time being of the essence, Mistico versus Atlantis Jr. on the last night of the card, the last match of the thing. Classic babyface match between two excellent workers. Atlantis is the NWA Historic Light Heavyweight Champion, and Mistico is the NWA Historic Middleweight Champion. I think Mistico's heavier than Atlanta. Anyway, point being, I don't know if they're really weighing these guys in, but never mind all that. Neither title was on the line, but it was a really terrific lucha match between two excellent workers. The funny thing about Mistico, it always cracks me up, is that somehow he managed to not get over in WWE. It's incredible. I mean, when he was the original Sin Cara, and we went through that whole thing about all the various Sin Caras and Misticos that have floated around over the years. Yeah. But it's remarkable. It's about the only time he wasn't the biggest star wherever he was. And, so seeing him in Japan, you mentioned this earlier, Scott, the way he interacted with the fans, and you can see that Soberano and Atlantis are learning from him. Some of the things like taking your belt and putting it over the little kids' shoulders and taking pictures. that's Tanahashi level stuff. That's John Cena level stuff. And you get into very rarefied air when you get that good at it. When little kids are happily running up to you because they just can't wait to be close to you and, and to be smart enough to like put the belt over the kid's shoulder and, have him make a muscle. And, when you're at that level, it's special to watch. And that's normally I will do the little 10-second skip between matches sometimes just I'm trying to get things watched. I watched Mistico leave the ringside area because I was just enjoying it so
much. There's a reason he's an Observer Hall of Famer already. So, like, I know not everyone takes that into consideration, but you said he's like John Cena. He's like those guys. He's like Tanahashi. Mm-hmm. Yes, he is, and he has the accolades to prove that. I mean, I always think back to that time he was in WWE. One, didn't help that they gave him colored lights for his matches. But I loved him when I was younger, like, because he was just like, I don't know, I played with him in the video game and he was great and he did cool stuff. So it's like, it was that simple for me. So getting to see him now be great all over again, it's like, all right, see, this is what he should have been. And I know he almost went back actually at one point, which I'm grateful that he didn't, because he's killing it here for CMLL. And I don't think it's going to happen because he's too big of a star to take away from CMLL for a long period of time, but I would love if he entered the Best of Super Juniors.
I'm definitely be in for that. I'd be in for several of these guys to come back for that thing. Yeah, that would be fabulous. So, all right, moving away from Fantasticamania now. Everyone's taking their pictures in the ring. We saw that, and everybody was waving goodbye to everybody there. But some of those guys are staying for a couple days. We're going to get into that. They're going to be part of Hiromu's show. But Jeremy, I know you wanted to bring up a little bit of Ring of Honor discussion because, as it turns out, we're going to be seeing some New Japan names on Ring of Honor television as they go into their new TV deal and new TV process. So talk to us a little bit about that, please.
Okay, so Ring of Honor taped this past weekend, 2 days worth of taping. I don't know if it's spread out over 4 tapings or whatnot, but there was a number of New Japan talent that showed up for this show. We had, spoiler alert, everybody, give yourselves like 5 seconds, I'll wait, you can pause. Okay, so we had Zack Sabre Jr. show up on the show. We had Clark Connors. We had Aussie Open. Did I miss anybody else? Is there anybody else that was on the show besides?
Well, he didn't show up.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a challenge.
There was a challenge.
Made, yeah.
Do you want me to say it?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. So after Wheeler Yuta's title match, I think it was against Clark Connors. Yes. So that goes hand in hand with Strong. He challenged Katsuyori Shibata.
Yes.
So
that's
a pretty big one, I'd say.
That's the one that I knew I was forgetting, and I was like, damn it, I should have written this all down.
Well, he didn't show up, to be fair. So
right. So, but these are all New Japan talents that are clearly somewhat involved going into Supercard of Honor, that are New Japan more than they are Ring of Honor or even AEW. And so, what I wanted to get a vibe was, how does it feel to you guys? Do you feel like this talent, this is going to benefit New Japan by having it on Ring of Honor? Would you prefer that this would be more of an AEW relationship right now? Do you think that the interest of New Japan will be superseded over Ring of Honor? Or is this going to be, we just have a couple other guys from this promotion and we're just thickening out this show?
From my end of it, I am okay with it in this form. Ring of Honor is a good way for guys to go on excursion. It's a good place for mid-card guys to get some work overseas and get that experience. So seeing guys like Clark Connors, I like that. Zach is a little high up on the card for me for that, but he's a TV champion. I'm okay. I mean, it's okay to send a big star over there every once in a while. I'm not saying that no big star shall ever go. If you're talking top tier guys, if I'm New Japan and we're talking the very top tier, and Zach's top tier, but again, once in a while.
Shibata too, in a lot of ways. Like, there's a name value to Shibata showing.
I would prefer the top guys be on AEW and not in what is going to be, whether they won, whatever they're saying, whatever Tony Khan's big announcement this week is, and he does one every week, is the Ring of Honor is their minor league. It's going to be. That's how it's going to be. That's how it turns out. And I would rather see guys, the very top guys, the Naitos, the Okadas, the Will Ospreays, be on AEW and not Ring of Honor. Now, some of these other guys that need the experience and the really good matches and working with different styles, the Ring of Honor is an excellent place for them. But the guys that don't need that, the guys that are always top tier, don't really want to see those guys on Ring of Honor because I think that makes New Japan look a little bit lesser in the hierarchy. That's just my initial thought on it.
Scott, what do you think?
One, I don't think you should have Will Ospreay on a tape show. I'll start by saying that. I don't think he should be doing these taped Ring of Honors ever. And I don't think he will, truthfully.
No.
But the way I look at it also is, well, if you have the likes of Kushida and Kenta doing Impact, then Ring of Honor, which is about to be, I think it's going to be red hot right out the gates because I think a lot of people are excited for it. I think the taping's got a lot of people excited for it. I think that the card itself for Super Card of Honor, or the projected card, is going to have a lot of people excited for it. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think, at least for now, Ring of Honor has a lot more buzz than Impact Wrestling does. And Will Ospreay is wrestling in Impact Wrestling. For WrestleMania week or WrestleMania week, whatever you want to call it. So, like, to me, that's kind of how I look at it. Like, I think Impact's a good place for those mid-card talents as well. Like, I think Kevin Knight has a singles match there this week or something, which is great. I love Kevin Knight.
Yeah.
So, like, for that, I think it's great. And I want those Ring of Honor moments to happen for those guys too, like Clark Connors, as we're talking about. But I don't think Ring of Honor is that bad of a place to be because they still do have some AEW top talent on those shows. I just, again, don't need the top main event stars of Ring of Honor being on tape shows. They could be on Super Card of Honor or their pay-per-views, like a Shibata, who didn't appear, from my knowledge, in any way, shape, or form at these TV tapings. So that's okay because people are going to buy the pay-per-views more often, I think, than they're going to subscribe to Honor Club, for example. And New Japan and Ring of Honor have had that relationship for a very long time too. I know it's different now because just Tony Khan running it, but I keep that in my head too. Like, some of the most fun shows I've ever been to are the War of the World shows that they were doing back then. So, like, I kind of like that part of it staying true, even if it's still just Tony Khan running both of them.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that make me optimistic about this. And if they are using this as the slow build towards Forbidden Door in 3 or 4 months, and this is where, like, everything starts to happen rather than, like, it dropped like a bag of shit on your front door the day after all Double or Nothing last week, and then it's like, all right, here we go, everything you want to know is happening right now. I would prefer that the arrangement works out so that organic builds happen a little bit more. I'm 100% agreement with the top stars. Although that Impact show, the more that I'm thinking about it, it really does seem like a vehicle that Kenny Omega could show up at the end of that to reignite the Jeff Cobb feud that they have going on, potentially for, like, Sakura Genesis or a show, Capital Collision, after that. So that's the thing that I'm kind of thinking of. It's like, even though we are not conditioned to having these big stars show up on these shows, maybe that's something that we need to recondition ourselves to as well.
That's a good point.
That 2023, the arrangements among the not WWE promotions can only get stronger if they choose to let that happen.
I guess I should also recognize Will Ospreay's still doing, like, Rev Pro and stuff, so I guess he doesn't really count here. He's just doing whatever he wants. But
he's like John Moxley. He can go and do and be Will Ospreay.
Yeah, just don't put Okada or Tanahashi on Ring of Honor. All right. That's I think that's the limit, right? No Okada there, and I don't think they would. If Tony Khan gets a date for Okada, he ain't putting him on Ring of Honor.
So this is the immediacy that we saw announced as that. So Zack Sabre Jr. is back right away doing a match. I do expect this to be free to watch on New Japan World because all of his title defenses, all of the defenses of the World TV title are available for free on New Japan World, regardless if you have a subscription. So if you want to watch this match, you do not need Honor Club to watch it, as far as I know, based off of the way that the TV championship has been made available to watch previously.
Blake Christian.
Right.
Weird choice.
Yeah.
He has been on strong consistently. And so he's along the same lines as Kevin Knight, Clark Connors, Blake Christian. They all have that same generational aptitude that seems that they're creating challengers.
I think he's signed to Ring of Honor specifically. I think Blake Christian's actually a Ring of Honor talent and has been for like months. If I remember correctly, I think his dad tweeted out or something that like he was signed to an AEW Ring of Honor contract, but he's an odd one. I guess I keep thinking this title is a pure title for some reason. So I'm like Blake Christian because you look at Zach and you know what Zach is, but it's not that. So I guess Blake Christian.
It's a time limit title.
Yeah,
it's
which I love. I love
and
the title.
Because Stephen Conway was drinking right now, I was not going to mention that. I thought it was based off of the coin toss if it hits the 15. I learned after last week.
Bless America with this coin toss. We're gonna have to. I wish I could find that part of your brain. Just flick it out.
But this Zack Sabre Jr. in for all intents and purposes, this is his new Rev Pro title. He's just walking around everywhere with it, like blatantly defending it, and no one's going to be able to take it off of him until there's a big New Japan match that he loses it to, and it's going to build a guy. So.
I like that phrase. He's just blatantly defending it. Just blatantly, all over the place. Just defend right up in your face.
He's on Ring of Honor. Like, he showed up on Ring of Honor.
just waving it in your face. Just blatantly defending it.
He was at Battle in the Valley. He's like, yeah, I'm waving. I got this title right here. Come and get it.
I like to see him subtly defend it sometimes.
Exactly. He doesn't do anything subtly.
He defended his title. I didn't even notice.
Blatantly defending that title. But yeah, I wanted to get a vibe. I wanted to get just a general feeling of what. Read the room, if it will, about the Ring of Honor arrangement and whether there's more benefit to Ring of Honor or more benefit to New Japan. And I think both companies can get something out of this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think so. And again, just for middle of the card guys to get experience and younger guys to get that kind of international thing and excursions, there's all kinds of ways this can work. It's just as long as nobody has to look minor league to anybody else, and that's the challenge whenever any promotion works with any other promotion is like who. Make sure look what happened with that Tokyo Dome show with Noah, where they had Noah lost all the big matches, and like I said, that I know those matches were great and that show was fun to watch, but you can't help but think that fans that came to see the New Japan guys left just saying, "Well, yeah, I'm watching the right company. I'm watching the right." So
I got to tell you, I never considered Desperado or Leo Rush as the guys to take that TV title off of them, but I got no issue with either one of them being the ones.
I like it.
Desperado can do anything. Desperado
time to talk the cup.
It is time for bracketology. It's that time of year in a lot of ways. We got March Madness coming. We got New Japan Cup coming. Let's get some brackets.
Okay, so here's the contest that we're going to do this viewership. We are going to go down the line in all the rounds, and the consensus between the three of us, whether we agree 3-0 or 2-1, whatever the consensus is, will be the official choice going forward for the 2023, speaking of strong style, New Japan Cup bracketology.
So we have all of a sudden.
We have two wise men and one half wise man here in me, and we're going to figure this out. Okay. And we are going to come up with a winner, and our winner is going to be the right winner. And we're going to come back and brag after the cup about how smart we are. And if we're wrong, we're never going to bring it up again.
It will not be mentioned. We'll just be on. Anything happened this week? Nope.
Nothing.
All right.
So we have a live bracket that we will fill out as we go.
All right. Where are we starting, Jeremy? Where we got?
Let's start at the top right with Yoshihashi and Kyle Fletcher, because I feel like there's a lot. It can get down to the wire on the left hand side. So we got Yoshihashi and Kyle Fletcher.
My first thought on this is that Fletcher is going to beat one half of the tag team champions to set up Aussie Open against Bishamon at some point.
I'm with you on that. Scott.
My thought is that Bishamon won't be tag team champions when Yoshihashi's wrestling this match. So,
you think Okada and Tanahashi are winning that?
I absolutely do. I think because they set up Shota and Ren Narita for later down the line. So I think you kind of want that generational tag. But maybe that's a little too spicy. Also, Hiroki Goto doesn't beat Okada and Tanahashi. Come on.
I think he beats Tanahashi. Absolutely. I think that's.
I thought Tanahashi's the guy to take the pin if they wanted a guy.
Yeah, I think he's taking the GTR. That was always my thought on that.
But I should reference legacy wise. Hiroki Goto rarely gets to beat Hiroshi Tanahashi. So I don't know. I think we'll have the Dream Team tag champs for a little fun run there. But I think Kyle Fletcher, because I don't see them doing Goto and Yoshihashi more than anything else.
All right.
Okay.
So we got Hiroki Goto moves on. So we got Shingo Takagi and Aaron Henare.
Let me think. I think Shingo Takagi is winning this match. Yeah, I don't see Henare getting the victory here at all.
It better be Shingo Takagi.
Yeah.
Is that better?
I just don't understand. I don't understand any other finish there.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. And Tamatonga has a bye. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is David Finlay and Tomohiro Ishii. This one could be interesting. I'm going to let you guys go first.
Well, my thought is Finlay, just because he's going to need the heel push after turning heel on Jay White at the Battle in the Valley, and I don't think it would make a whole lot of sense to beat him in the first match in Japan as a raging asshole.
Yeah,
his character, Finlay's terrific, but I mean, his character is that he is a raging asshole. So he's got to get this first big win, right?
Yeah, I think David Finlay's going to have a nice run here. They're trying to build up that international side of things. With Jay White gone, you kind of have no choice now. There's two big names, I think, in this tournament to do that with, and Finlay is one of the two. So definitely a win over Ishii makes sense.
Flaming Shark has his thoughts on that one too. He's there you go.
You guys got to handle that. I'm working on this bracketology over here.
That's fine.
All right, we got Shota Umino and Yujiro Takahashi.
Again, let me think. Now, I'm on the record as saying I think Shota is going a long way in this tournament because I think they want to begin establishing him as a high level, maybe not world title level babyface, but a high level babyface with that to come later. I think Shota Umino is definitely in their plans as a major star. And I think after losing almost all of his big matches, I think he's going to have a good run in this tournament. And I certainly don't see Yujiro Takahashi beating him.
I am crazy, and I think Shota Umino might be winning this cup.
Wow. That's a good one.
I'm going with him.
Spicy hot take.
It is spicy.
Look, he's on the New Japan World slate already. When you open up New Japan World, he has replaced Jay White. Shota Umino's on the screen. They believe in this dude.
I think he's going to the finals. I mean, we're going to see. We'll talk about all this, but I think he's absolutely.
We're all deciding, and I'm already outvoted whether I agree or not.
Do you?
I do agree on this one.
Okay.
I mean, you can pick Big Huge if you want to.
If I'm having spicy hot takes, that's not the one I'm spicy hot taking. All right, so we got that side. Now we're going to move over to the other side. We got SANADA and Taichi.
This one's fascinating to me because both guys are kind of on a cold streak as part of the story. Just four guys isn't winning their matches, and that's been part of the story. That this new faction isn't quite doing as well as it had hoped. SANADA has been flat out despondent after losing a lot of his matches. So I'm of two minds here. Either SANADA is getting a strong run to start to, because you Ghetto likes to tear people down, then build them back up. So if SANADA loses, maybe the cup, which does kind of lend itself to his style of wrestling, it could be his push, or this could be rock bottom for him, where he loses in the first round, walks out of this thing just going, I don't know what, do I even belong in the G1? He seems to be having a bit of a in-character existential crisis in some of these backstage interviews. So I'm really torn on this one, guys. I think whoever loses is more the story than the winner.
Interesting.
Do you want to be the last guy to pick on this one?
Yes, please. I'll pass.
Okay.
If I got what I wanted, Taichi would win the cup.
Yes,
because I love Taichi.
And I love seeing Miho Abe happy.
Exactly. But I think, I talked about this a little bit with Jeremy before you got into the on here, and I said SANADA kind of feels like he's either out round one or he's winning the whole damn thing. That's kind of the feeling I have with him.
I agree with Flaming Shark here too.
Yeah, me too.
There are some pathways here that really just seems like a narrative victory of SANADA outgrowing and moving past some ghost / things that potentially might be holding him back right now.
Mhm.
And I think that there is something to SANADA joining just 4 guys because he's fashionable and there's a fashion bent to that one. His relationship with Taichi. There's not a lot of room at the top of LIJ right now, especially with Shingo, and they just added Teton. There's a lot of people in that stable. So does that happen with SANADA winning or losing? I'm going to go with SANADA winning.
Yeah, I will too.
Okay. It's yeah, all right. I think that's probably it. I'll go ahead and make it 3-0 on that one.
Okay.
Even though you guys decided it before I did, which is fine. I really am flip a coin on this one. It's interesting.
It's a
lot of
chalk
ways.
pick. It's 100% a chalk pick.
Yeah.
It's whatever they have planned for all the guys involved. Other than that, it's just yeah. This one, Tetsuya Naito versus El Phantasmo.
I'll go first here.
Please.
I think this is the toughest first round match to pick
100%.
because Tetsuya Naito has about 7 stories within this bracket that you could tell. You have the one with, Phantasmo, the match itself is important because of where Bullet Club is right now.
Yeah.
But you have, of course, the potential of him facing SANADA, which, with the SANADA story, it's like, oh, does SANADA like maybe cheat to beat Naito? And that's how we follow his story. And then there's the idea of, what if Naito gets to the finals against a Shota Umino, and Shota Umino gets that win back, because that is a classic as well. I feel like Naito in the New Japan Cup, let alone anything, right? Because Naito, of course, beats Shota. Does Shota get that big win in the finals? But Jeremy did convince me before this show that El Phantasmo having a run makes even more sense because of where Bullet Club is right now. Because this is a guy that they need, right, to kind of establish himself. And maybe getting to the semis out of nowhere is a possibility. Why did I go first? I should have picked last.
You can defer.
I'll defer. I'm going to defer. I wanted to give my thoughts out there, and then I'll pick last.
I actually believe Naito is going quite a ways in this thing, so I'm picking Naito. And I understand the ELP thing, absolutely. But I also think that him losing here could be part of the story that Bullet Club is just in, pardon the pun, in chaos. There's just, and they're a little bit rudderless. They don't have a leader. No one's really stepped forward to be the leader. And I think this could be a thing where they're in a bit of their own crisis right here. It's interesting, isn't it? Because SANADA, just 4 guys, Bullet Club, they're all messes right now. And storyline messes. They're like, people are just kind of fumbling around. They're lost in the woods. I think it could be part of the story here. And I think Naito is going a long way. So my vote is with Naito.
I joked once that SANADA could become the leader of Bullet Club, and I think it'd be very funny.
Cold Skull Bullet Club.
Yeah, it would be all the way.
Okay, so here's my argument for El Phantasmo. And it is, when you get to that semifinal, El Phantasmo versus Will Ospreay is a hell of a match. And El Phantasmo, as someone climbing to the top of Bullet Club, and Will Ospreay is the head of United Empire, is an even more intriguing match. Tetsuya Naito has had a lot of attention on him over the last 2 months. He had 3 title matches last year at the beginning of the year. It is a question of, do you go back to what you know will potentially work, or do you start rebuilding for the future? And so everything about their planning right now is about building for the future. And with that is my argument that I think we need to see Phantasmo here more than I want to see Naito, because Phantasmo as a pillar of New Japan going forward over the next 2 to 3 years is probably best for business for New Japan.
Okay. Are we sure they're really building for the future totally out here? I mean, I think they are, but I'll have my reasons for that. We'll go into that.
Scott, you're the
admittedly I don't even like Phantasmo, so this is
Well, you can also remember this: Phantasmo was united with the Bucks, and Ospreay is united with United Empire, so there's a natural rivalry there too. I'm making my argument. It'll bust my whole bracket. Phantasmo doesn't go.
You know what? I'm actually going to go because of the Chase Owens factor. I feel like I should take in the double Bullet Club idea into respect to Chase Owens. Come on.
Getting a bye in the first round.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I didn't pay attention to that.
Elder statesman Chase Owens.
I gotta go with my gut, and I'm gonna go with Naito.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
All good.
Jeremy. You almost had me. Oh man. Well, I hope I expect to now be completely wrong. Jeremy can just be like, I told you.
It's good to have conflict.
You twisted his arm pretty good there. I thought he was going to tip.
Hey, I could be wrong.
I'm just going with my gut of where I've thought about this the whole time. So
yeah.
All right.
Way I could go.
We got Ren Narita and we got Evil.
Good Lord, I hope this is Ren Narita.
I feel like they got the upper hand over Evil the last time with the titles, and Evil is moving forward.
You think Evil's getting his win back on this one?
Yep.
They've been protecting Ren for the most part. He did lose he did lose recently by submission there, all that stuff. I'm gonna go with Narita.
Okay. Scott,
I'm gonna go with Evil. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ooh, Scott, your favorite, Toriano versus Mark Davis.
I hope Mark Davis squashes him.
Right.
I want Ospreay and Mark Davis more than I want anything else in this bracket.
I think that is entirely a more entertaining match. I don't think we're getting that match.
No, you're probably right. But I'm going to pick Mark Davis. We'll be selfish here.
I got Toriano.
Now I'll take Davis because I don't think anybody here thinks that anybody but Will is moving on to the final 8 there. So no matter who, it's going to be him. I think this is an opportunity to have interfactional matches without it having to be a big angle or a big feud. And I think that might be a thing where Davis just has a match with Will there, and it'll probably be terrific. And part of it is, hoping that I don't have to watch Will try to navigate a Yano match. But
hey, I like the way the second round looks right now, except for Chase Owens. So we're doing good.
All right, so we're going to go back to the other side. We got Kyle Fletcher and Hiroki Goto. What are we feeling here?
I think Kyle Fletcher is legitimately can be a future single star.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I don't think he beats both of Bishamon. So I'm going to go with Goto here.
Agreed.
See, I think he does, and that sets up the rematch.
I hope you're right, because I love
Goto is the choice. Ooh, this match. Ooh, who's hotter right now? Shingo Takagi versus Tama Tonga.
I see a way to set up a never open weight title match. That's what I see here.
Yep, absolutely right.
It'd be great to have Shingo win and then give Tama Tonga an actual big match with this belt. You can have that main event a show if you want to on the tour coming up. So I think that'd be good.
Yeah, no hesitance here. I think Takagi's winning this one.
Because Takagi already has the King of Pro Wrestling. And
oh my God, I forgot about that.
Tama Tonga has the never open weight title. And I am looking at other matches in another bracket that says to me Tama Tonga's opponent might be someone that they are recently trying to heat up that might not make it all the way to the finals. So my personal choice is Tama Tonga here.
Okay.
All right, interesting.
What do we got? Shingo or Tama? Do you guys both have Shingo?
Yeah,
I
do.
So I will tell you, I thought that the eventual match to make for Genesis was David Finlay versus Tama Tonga.
Oh, that's a good one too. That makes a lot of sense.
Possible, but I don't see the only way that works is if they're in the semifinals against each other, and I don't see that in this bracket anyway. So
yeah, so that was kind of where I was thinking. I thought because Shota is already somewhat established, David could get a win over him and then end up going against Tama Tonga and then losing in the finals to whoever was on the other side. But That is no longer a possibility. I just had to get that out there now because that was some of my reasoning earlier. All right, we got David Finlay and Great O'Con.
I'll go with David Finlay. I think we're really building him up.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. I don't think he loses until the semis.
Great O'Con
Until the quarters.
Geek,
Until the excuse me, I'm wrong. Until the quarters. I think he wins at least 2 here to get him jump started.
Yeah, I don't
Shota
think
Umino and Zack Sabre Jr.
This feels like that type of match that can ruin my bracket.
Yes.
I'm gonna go Shota. I think Shota needs to. I think he needs this tournament. Believe it or not, like I know he's young, but I think if you really want to establish these young guys, the New Japan Cup is always the best way to do that.
Shota Umino over Zack Sabre Jr. is a great match for Sakura Genesis.
Ooh, good shout.
Yeah, and for the TV title and all that stuff, and I would have no problem with it. Remember, the idea of the TV title was for younger guys, a younger man's title. Now, you use a guy like Zach to establish it. No issue with that whatsoever. And he's a good guy to do the time limit teases and sneak a pinfall in with 1450 to, all that stuff. Perfect guy for all that. I think he's been effective and he's made some title defenses. I think this could be Shota's thing, the TV title in his first little beltlet.
I'm with you guys. All right, so we got SANADA and Kenta over on the other side.
I'm pretty set on if SANADA wins one match, he's going. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with SANADA. Though if Noah Kenta wants to show him his face again, I'm not gonna be upset. Is he a champion now?
Kenta is the strong champion.
Oh, right.
He defeated Fred Rosser.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for the reminder. Yeah, I'm still gonna go with SANADA.
I'm with SANADA as well.
Yep, I'm in agreement with there. I think, like you said, if whoever wins, even if it's Taichi, by the way, I still put him over Kenta right there. I think whoever wins that first round is going.
A commercial for Just 4 Guys is essentially. I still think SANADA Just 4 Guys. That is
Just 5 guys.
Nice. Well, you can just kind of take Taka and just make him the manager.
That's true. That's very true.
We got Naito and Chase Owens.
It better be Naito. It better be El Phantasmo or Naito. I'll specifically say that.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be Naito.
All right, we got Evil and Jeff Cobb.
I do think they put. You see now, oh boy, see, they might be doing the most interesting of the of the Will Ospreay faction here with Cobb and Ospreay. If they wanted to do that,
they're not doing that.
Yeah, boy. So, you think Evil's going all the way that far?
I had the thought that if SANADA were to get to the semifinals, that he would have to face Evil. That was how that bracket kind of the SANADA story means going through Evil. I am again going to stick to my guns and say that Will Ospreay will get foiled at every opportunity to get his title match against Okada until Wrestle Kingdom. So somewhere in the semifinals or finals, Ospreay's losing. And I think it's the semifinals.
So I think there is an interesting story there to think about is that I am going to pick Evil here. But between Evil and Ospreay, SANADA has a story there with both of them. Mm-hmm. Like,
the orbital bone.
The orbital bone, it made SANADA drop the title, right? That kind of that's what led to all his bad luck. Mm-hmm. So it's almost
that's a compelling argument to bring Will Ospreay all the way forward. And, okay, I like that.
By the way, Will Ospreay beats Mark Davis.
Yes.
No, sorry, Mark. I love you, but
okay,
didn't give you much of a shot.
So we're getting to the final 8 here. I think I have like 6 out of the 8 were in my original.
Flaming Shark asked a very interesting question here. Evil beating Narita, Cobb, and Ospreay. Is Ghetto paying you guys off? No, I have received no money from Ghetto. I also am in the minority on this one. I don't think Evil's getting anywhere near all this. So we'll see what's happening.
Do you want Ren? Do you think Ren Narita and Jeff Cobb is the match that happens? I mean, it could, but I feel like Jeff
I would
Cobb
prefer it
eat his
was.
lunch
yeah.
money.
Yeah. I think that's what happens, and I think Cobb wins it, to be honest.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's part of your bracket later on because I think you got outvoted. Okay, we're gonna go back to the top corner. Hiroki Goto versus Shingo Takagi.
Shingo. I think Goto will have proven his point by then. And Goto is exactly the kind of guy that loses in the quarters in tournaments like this. He's a guy that has all the credibility in the world, and it'll be a terrific match. But it's the kind of match, especially for somebody who I still think will be the tag team champion at the time. I don't see him beating Shingo here. And so I think Takagi wins.
I'm in agreement.
I think you want that former world champion at least on one side of each bracket. So I'll go with Shingo.
Yeah.
All right. David Finlay and Shota Umino.
Oh my god, it better be Shota Umino. I'm gonna go Shota. I'm sticking to my guns here.
I have said for a long time, I predicted before the bracket ever came out that Shota Umino is going to make the semifinals of the Cup because I think that's going to be the beginning of his push because he kept, had to lose to Naito and all that. But I do think that's coming. I think Shota gets this win.
Wouldn't be shocked though if they really wanted to push Finlay.
I wouldn't either.
I think the plan is for Shota to have that match, and so he doesn't move forward. I think it's Finlay personally, and I think they're really invested in him. And I don't think it was a coincidence that his attack on Jay White happened right before the Cup. My pick is David Finlay here, but we're going to go move forward with Shota.
It wouldn't be the first time he's made it far.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's true.
All right, so we got SANADA and Tetsuya Naito on the other side.
I'm sticking with SANADA. I think I'm fully committed to the SANADA thing now, which could hopefully that means he's waking up for the tournament too. That'd be great.
All right, Conway, let's hear your argument for Naito.
I'm going to go with Naito just because, one, I think he's coming out of this bracket, and I'm not even sure SANADA gets out of the first round. I think Taichi might win. That's
Bro,
the part that
I
really
wasn't
gets
even
me.
sure Naito was getting out of the first round.
That's very true.
I think it's about time we all admitted we don't know what the hell's going on in
No,
this bracket. And so, but
After all
it is
said and
fun.
done, we'll all tell each other who we are top two and our predicted winner is, and then we can have our cake and eat it too.
Naito is my pick here.
I'm gonna do SANADA.
Oh,
All right.
Nice.
Evil and Will Ospreay.
dear Lord.
Ospreay.
Yeah, I mean Ospreay.
The story that you just told was very, very compelling, and so I'm
Cool. I just thought of it.
So we got Shingo Takagi versus Shota Umino. Make your arguments, gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna establish Shota in this cup, he's got to beat a world champion, right? He's got to beat a former world champion.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, and I think him getting a win over Shingo Takagi, that's about as big a win you can get these days in New Japan without beating like an Okada or Naito, right? It's like who's not the pillars of New Japan that you can beat and get a lot from? It's Shingo. And I think Shota Umino beating Shingo Takagi makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'll agree with that as well for basically the same reasons. It's a way to, one, have a terrific match, and for B, to get that win, a huge win without it being the win, which is still to come.
And I also think whoever wins that bottom bracket is representing in the finals, I will say, between Shota and David Finlay or Zach, if Zach randomly wins again, which I don't think is going to happen. But I could be wrong.
I'm going to have to go with Shota on this. Neither one of these were my pick to get out of the bracket, but they all served a purpose getting to where they are. So for the sake of how this is played out, I think Shota Umino is the choice. We got SANADA and Will Ospreay.
Well, all right. Of these two, I would say Will, which would set up the rematch with Shota, coming off that whole thing where Red Shoes had to stop the match and things.
God damn it does.
Which is which is a very compelling story. I'll tell you why I'm thinking that. And as far as this goes,
This has worked well for me.
I think
fun.
Yeah.
I think Naito gets there and actually beats Ospreay because Jeremy, I agree with you that he gets I think the whole thing is he gets the win back over Ospreay after the G1 finals. And also I think they will continue to put those little obstacles in front of Will, because I don't think, it's going to be a little while before all that pays off. Could be a G1, could be we'll get to all that. But for this one, since Naito's out of this one, I got to pick Will. And but with the idea that Shota still has that mountain to climb, so I'm going to pick Will over SANADA.
This is where I'll sit here and admit the reason I voted for SANADA and Shota Umino is I think they're the two favorites to win this tournament. So I was like, I want to cover bases on both sides just in case. That being said, to me, either, if Naito wins, I think Naito would beat Ospreay, and then you get Naito and Shota, like I pointed out earlier, right? Like I pointed that out because that's the match that you go back to after Naito had originally beat him. But if it's this case that we have here, having Will Ospreay lose to Shota Umino in the finals and play off that Red Shoes angle, that's exciting. I think the idea of continuing Ospreay's story of getting to that moment, right? Getting to Okada in the world title is exciting, but just failing at the end like he did in the G1 last year is all the more exciting to me. And then you establish Shota Umino via this New Japan Cup. And now watch me be wrong. Watch Shota Umino lose to Yujiro Takahashi and we can all just go home. And it won't even matter. He'll lose via Big Juice. It'll be great.
The bracket buster.
But I'm going to pick Ospreay because I don't even know how we ended up here. I don't even think this is even close to my final four.
No,
that's not. And,
one choice in the beginning bracket, and it all went to shit for me.
So how about we vote for this? We'll vote for this. We'll see this all the way through. Then we'll talk about what we think is actually going to happen, right?
Yeah, we'll each talk about our picks. We got 10 minutes to knock this out. So
okay,
I really like this story of Will Ospreay versus Shota Umino, because here's why. If Will Ospreay loses to Shota Umino, who then goes on to Sakura Genesis and gets wiped the floor with Okada, that's going to fuck with Will Ospreay's head. That he couldn't beat this guy that Okada beat handily, or just he dispatched. Because that is a story psychologically of a guy that has to keep rebuilding from the bottom, because they don't want him to lose all that much. So the story can't be Will Ospreay has got a shitty losing streak. He's not a good wrestler anymore. But if he has like mental like things that are happening, it's just like he has to overcome these obstacles that you never saw coming. That is a compelling story. So I'm gonna go with that as well. I think Will Ospreay's the pick.
Okay.
So we agree that Shota should win the whole thing.
If this happens exactly like this, yes.
Yes. Yeah. If this is if these are the circumstances, yes.
I like establishing a guy like that through this tournament.
Screenshot in this one.
So Scott Edwards, what is actually going to happen here?
So I'm actually gonna. So I think I had Naito, Ospreay, Shota, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I have no idea in that top bracket. Haven't been able to figure it out for days. I've been staring at it. I said none of these names really jump out to me like I want them to, because Shingo, of course, coming off that world title match already, so like he doesn't seem as obvious as you'd think. Tama Tonga is interesting because he's also the never openweight champion. And, maybe if he got to the semifinals and Shota got that win, hey, there's another title match for him. But yeah, I realize I have Shota Umino being a lot of champions. I get it. So I think I'll say it's Naito, Ospreay, Umino, and Tama Tonga. Or Hiromu. Tama Tonga. Maybe. I have no idea. As you can tell, I'm not confident in that top bracket at all.
All right, so my final four
Yeah.
were El Phantasmo in the top corner, Will Ospreay in the bottom corner. It was a pick-em between Takagi and Tama Tonga in the other corner, which I was leaning towards Tama Tonga, and then David Finlay in the bottom corner, which would eventually lead to Tama Tonga versus El Phantasmo going into the final two-face Okada at Sakura Genesis.
That'd be a wild final. Way to establish ELP, though.
Yeah.
I am going to go with actually 3 of the 4 that are here. Will, Shota, and Shingo, I think, are correct. Again, I'm going with Naito in the upper left. My idea is Naito gets his win back over Will. That keeps Will out of the picture here just enough. It puts Naito in the finals against Shota, who gets that win that's not quite there against Shingo. And then we do have Naito against Shota in the finals. The reason I'm picking Naito in this is because it is for a main event of what is one of their bigger shows, Sakura Genesis. They usually go with a really big match for this. And Naito is a security blanket guy. Geto's got his security blanket guys. Okada's one of them, obviously. Naito's certainly one of them. When he needs a big match and he needs to sell tickets, and we're talking about a company where ticket sales means more than it does to even the companies here in the United States do. He needs to sell tickets. And Naito versus Okada moves tickets. And I think that's where they're going to go with it. And I think you have the story that Shota still has the Naito-shaped mountain to climb in that he can't quite get over that guy's hump. That could be for the G1. And then they would still have Shota against Zack because he will have gone over Zack to get there. So it's Sakura Genesis. No, Shota Umino isn't challenging for the IWGP title, but he beat a champion in the tournament, and I think you can give him a win at Genesis over Zack and give him his first title run. So I think it can accomplish all those things. And Naito can be a match that Okada, who I mentioned is the new Inoki, can win and carry on forward as we get closer and closer to G1.
I just want to point out, I think it's hilarious, and none of us had SANADA, yet he ended up in the final.
Yeah. He was in one of my original blueprints. I'm like, bro, of all these people, of all the established New Japan people that's been around, SANADA is the one that just hasn't had anything interesting happen to them. Everyone of Taichi, Kenta, Naito, everybody seems to have some kind of story, some type of narrative, some type of direction for their character.
Sure.
And SANADA doesn't really seem to have anything going on other than, he was against Manabu Soya and he had the losing streak, but no one else really has a lock on what feels like SANADA's next direction right now. So when there is an absence of it, you think maybe this is his direction.
Yeah, I'd be pretty depressed if I lost to Manabu Soya too. So, yeah. I mean, I watched Suwama bully that man at the Muto show, so I just want to point that out. Definitely.
All right, so there we go. We managed to get through that. And,
we did it.
Yeah, there we have it. So we'll see
and
how
no one's confident in the bracket. That's fantastic.
Again, if we're right, we'll never shut up about it. If we're wrong, never going to bring it up again.
Yeah, we'll burn it. We'll burn the.
We got a few seconds to do some socials here. Scott, why don't you give yourself some social love for the people watching?
Yeah, please follow me at Scott E Wrestling on Twitter. You can see all my wrestling thoughts throughout the week. Of course, you can please check out the 5-Star Joshi show here on the Fight Game Media Network. Steven will actually be on there this week, so another cheap plug. Yeah,
I will. Yeah, no, I'm very excited about it. I'm really happy to be doing your show, Scott. We're going to be talking Stardom, and my journey. Part of it, I know, is going to be about my journey into getting into Stardom, which is a company that I've been aware of and watched some of. But I would hit highlights. I would hit big matches. I first started following Stardom truly this past year, and we're going to talk a lot about that journey and a lot about what's coming up with that company, which is really about as well booked as anything going in wrestling right now, and it's just been really strong, and I've enjoyed the hell out of it. So we're going to talk that. So looking forward to it, and hope everybody listens in.
Yeah, so please check that out. That's all my plugs. But follow me to see everything else. That's the easiest way to get there.
So we have a Discord for Fight Game Media now that you can find by going to the pinned tweet on Fight Game Media's Twitter. And you can also email gg@fightgamemedia.com for an invite if you're looking to join in on conversations about this show, AEW, WWE, New Japan, other promotions, other shows that we do there. It's a fun, growing community. Kind of made some attention this weekend here and there on the internet, but I promise you, it's a fun time. It's informative. Smart people are hanging out there, and we'd love to have you. And if you get this message and you want to get in from there, mention you got it from Speaking of Strong Style.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we're about to wrap this one up here, and we're getting some love on our brackets and for Stardom as well. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I always thought we had a very intelligent viewership here, and it's being confirmed. So a lot of good stuff going on in Japan right now. So with that in mind, we'll be back next week to talk more about it, and then we'll have the junior show to talk about some of the early cards from this tournament. So the New Japan Cup. So a lot to go. Thank you very much, Scott, for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Love doing this.
For Jeremy, I'm Stephen Conway. Thank you for joining us on Speaking of Strong Style. We'll be back next week with more. We'll see you real soon.